Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. So today I have something super exciting to share with you guys, which is a new tool created by the United Gamers team. So a few months ago, these guys reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to test this new thing we're working on in order to help you kind of isolate and train skills in League? And personally, I'm a really big fan of being able to isolate skills, right? Like if you look at any of my fundamental videos or any of my coaching sessions, I always say, try and focus on one thing at a time. But League is always it's always been quite difficult to do that, right? Because the practice tool is fairly lacking, and compared to other games, there's no kind of like Kovacs aim trainer. Games like StarCraft, for example, have plenty of custom mini games in order for you to practice all these skills. But League doesn't have that. So I was super intrigued. I said, of course, yeah, I want to come take a look at this. And they've created something that's super awesome. So I'm going to go through, I'll timestamp everything below and hopefully answer all your questions and just show you guys what a good job they've done. So the main feature obviously is all these tasks. There's a ton of different games and skills that you can practice on, and they've even done a really good job of kind of catering it for all roles. So you can kind of see here that you can filter by different types. They've got ones that apply, very heavily to mid, things like aiming and dodging, but also, for the other roles like AD carry, kiting and spacing is very important. There's even a smite one as well. So there really is something for every role. I gave a lot of feedback personally around the mid lane position, and I'll kind of explain some of that as I go along. But I think it would be best if we just start by going through some of the scenarios, and I can kind of talk you through how I think they might be used. So let's start by using aim. I think aim is a really important one because it applies to almost every champ in the game, right? There's a lot of skill shots, obviously, and especially for you guys watching, there's a plethora of mid lane mages that are going to be using, multiple skill shots in their kit. So being able to hit more of them is super important. So if you come up here and you click aim, it's going to filter to all the variety of tasks and scenarios that have to do with aim. So we've got things like mouse precision, some warm-ups down here, as well as some actual kind of, I guess, in-game examples is what I'd call them. So why don't we start out with a warm-up? So we can choose something like aim here. If you click this little eye here, it will tell you kind of what you have to do. So in this one, basically, there's a bunch of things on the screen that move around, and you just have to press the corresponding letter while you mouse over it. So for example, if I just come here and click train, this is level 1. You can see they move very slow, right? Pretty easy to do this. This goes on for a minute. You can see in the top right. Now, if you press the wrong key, for example, if I press W, I'll get a fail, right? Or if I press it somewhere not on it, I also get a fail. So basically, it's to test your aim, right? Like making sure that you can hit the right ability on the right location. So obviously that might be a bit too easy. So the nice thing with all of these tasks is that they have a difficulty function. You can take them all the way up to 10. And most of these scenarios, they tell you, I'm not sure if this one does, maybe it says it in game. Most of them say what actually gets more difficult. Yeah, okay, it says it here. So more circles will appear per second, shorter exposure time, and a greater speed of movement of the circle. So let's change this from level 1. We just go here, change this along to level 5, and then click train. So once again, we go into it, but this time, as you can see, things are moving a bit faster. I already missed one. And they're also going to fade a little quicker. If I just don't do anything, you can see that, like this one, for example, they're disappearing a lot sooner. Now, when you're doing training, which is what I've been doing, you can make as many mistakes as you want, right? As you can see, I can miss multiple ones, and then eventually, at the end, I will get a score. So what I'll do is I'll just go through the whole thing just to show you guys. So we'll do this on level 5. So at the end, after a minute, you'll get a score based on how many you missed and, how accurate you were and all that. So we'll just do one full run through just so I can make it super obvious to you guys. This is the, like I said, this is the training one. There is a compete mode, which I'll show you in a sec. But for now, we'll just do this. So this could be quite useful to, obviously warm up before you start playing. Another way to use it would be that it could be kind of useful to, like, what's the word? Kind of like benchmark yourself. So like, for example, if you find that like after a really rough night's sleep that you think you play worse, this could be a way to actually test that. If you go through and like, I don't know, check your average scores on days where you sleep more or sleep less, you might actually be able to find some sort of things that affect your gameplay more than you think. I know for me that I used to get quite a lot higher Kovacs scores when I was honestly in a good mood. And I know that kind of goes without saying, but that's, something to be said to tilt, right? And I'm sure there's a bunch of other things like making sure you've exercised or eaten or whatever. So yeah. Anyway, so after this, you can see that I missed 5 here. I hit 33 in a row. We get some score and some experience. There's also a leaderboard over here. So I scored number 15 on the level 5 one. And you can scroll all the way down, see all these different people that have tried it out. So after this, you've got a couple things. You can level up, which will take you to level 6 if you want to keep going up incrementally, which is fine. But what we're going to do instead is we're going to go to compete. So the compete isn't anything to do with the difficulty level, right? It doesn't matter what you do here. The compete will always be the same. And the way compete works is that after you make 3 mistakes, basically you're out. So if I just, go here and I just like miss these first ones, you'll see that I get knocked out here pretty quickly. The longer you survive, the more difficult it gets. You see here, I played it once earlier and my record was 1 minute 45. So if we just play this for a little bit, you'll see that, okay, gradually it's going to get more and more difficult. And then once again, as you miss 3, you're eventually going to be eliminated. So we won't go through the whole thing because I want to show you guys a bunch of other ones, but as you can see, right, it's starting to get a little more difficult. Things are starting to move a little faster. So you can use this again to just, well, kind of for fun and see how long you can last. I think it's quite fun. So yeah, I think that's a really good way to, obviously, if you want a high placing on a leaderboard, that's one way to do it. But yeah, I think that's really cool. So we'll go to the next one, right? So that's one way you can practice your aim, is just like by this isolated thing here. Now we've also got an in-game example. So I'll show you this next, and then I'll show you maybe a couple more of these. So the in-game example is really good because it creates the most similar scenario you could get to League of Legends. So when you come to these, once again, we've got, info on how it actually works. Same thing as before, we've got a leaderboard and a difficulty thing, but we've also got champions to choose from. And this was something I gave a lot of feedback on because for mid lane, hitting a circle skill shot, for example, Brand W, Xerath W, stuff like that is very different from hitting a line skill shot, for example, Xerath Q or REQ or something like that, right? So you can choose different champions which actually have a different set of abilities. So for this one, let's try Xerath. So let's just go difficulty level 1, train, and see what happens. So basically, you just use your spells like normal. And as you can see here, if you do want to turn the difficulty up, this is what gets more difficult. So similar to League of Legends, you can basically just, control your character. It's very similar to League. Honestly, it feels very different. And one thing you might be wondering is, can you import your settings? Yes, you can. And you can make it super, super similar. I just realized I died. You can make it super, super similar feeling, I guess, to what an actual League of Legends game is, because that's what you want, right? You want it to be as similar as possible. So this time, I'll actually try. So just walking around here, and you'd be surprised. I mean, if you try, it really does feel very similar. So your goal is to hit as many of these targets. As you can see, there's a little timer down here, 60 seconds. So you want to kill as many of these as possible, and once again at the end you'll get a score. You can also lock and unlock your camera if you prefer, which I prefer, obviously unlock cam. And that could even be, I didn't even think of that, but it could be another thing to practice, right? A lot of people sometimes ask me in my streams, how do you get used to not using lock cam? And I always say, well, honestly, you kind of just have to suck it up. You kind of just have to get a bit better at it. But I think that, this actually could be a way to do it. So that's just another thing. So let's turn this up a bit and just make the difficulty a lot harder. Let's just go all the way to 10 and just see what happens. So again, since we're on train, we can make as many mistakes as we want. But you can see these are getting extremely fast, perhaps unrealistically so. But at the same time, right, a lot of the time, you actually want to make your training more difficult than your actual game would be. That's something that I think is very, very common in, well, sports and in a lot of other games, I think in a lot of the aim trainers and stuff, some of the targets they use are so minute or so fast that it's much smaller than an actual game. But if you can get to be that precise, it's really going to help you in an actual game. So I think this is a really good way of improving. Again, it's super fast, but it's good, right? And I think the nice thing, again, especially if you main mid, is that a lot of these champs are going to have kind of similar skill shots, right? All the circle skill shots are somewhat similar, and all the line skill shots are somewhat similar. There is something to be said, and I'll talk about it in the FAQ at the end. There is something to be said for some unique skill shots. Things like Diana Q obviously isn't or doesn't function similarly to a lot of other skills. But you can see there, okay, my score was pretty low. But you can see, again, once again, you get, rated, I guess, on how many enemies you hit, abilities hit, stuff like that, and you get an overall score at the end. And similar to the one we did before, there is a compete mode, works the exact same way. So that would be a great way, you could warm up with something like this, and then we could go over and practice it in a game. There are a variety of warm-ups though, and if you feel like one is better for you, then you can. So like this one, for example, here, let's just set this to 5 to make this a little more difficult for ourselves. This one here, you have to fire your skills at minions with a respective color ability. So you'll see what I mean. Basically, you've got this Q, W, E, and R, each with different colors, right? And as you can see, so these orange ones have to be hit with an E. The red ones have to be hit with an R. So as you kind of get used to this, you can start to you know, kind of get an idea of like which one you have to shoot out. But as they get faster and as you're kind of, you know, having to race against the clock and hit more targets in time, it can get more difficult. So obviously if you miss, you lose a point, and also if you hit it with the wrong corresponding color, you lose a point. So if we go back and we go to this and we go to compete, again, it'll get faster and faster as we go on. Initially, it starts off very slow, but the longer we can survive, we're allowed to make up to 3 mistakes, right? And as it gets quicker, it's going to be more difficult to make sure that we can consistently use the correct color. So yeah, I think this is another really good tool, I guess, for improving your accuracy. And another one where you could honestly very easily see it being applicable to League, right? Like obviously there are moving targets, namely champions, right? And you have to somewhat predict like which way they're... Dude, I just got scanned. You have to somewhat predict which way they're moving. So that can be quite good. Another one we can take a quick look at is the aim plus map one, which is a really good warm-up if you actually just like want to warm up before you play some games. So this one will test not only some of the aiming skills that we've already looked at, but also your mini-map awareness at the same time. So you'll see, actually it would probably be easier if I just show you. Let me move my camera here to the other side. So when you start this up, you can choose which mini-map side you play on. I obviously play on left, but I'll set it to right because I know most of you do that. And then we click train. You can kind of see the explanation here, but it's easier if I just show it to you. So you have these things come up on the screen, and you have to right-click these ones. You have to press your corresponding key, you know, on these to aim. And then down here in the bottom right, you can press D or F to change this from side to side in order to make sure you dodge the things that are coming down. So it teaches you quite a lot of awareness while you're, you know, making sure you're pressing the right key and right-clicking on the right targets. Obviously, you've got aiming to do and stuff, while also, you know, keeping an eye on what's going down here. So yeah, I think this is another really cool one, and one that I think would be really useful if you just want to play for, I don't know, a couple minutes before you queue up for a League game. So as you can see, there's a lot of like really good tools for practicing a variety of different skills, and honestly, like there's just a lot of, you know, variety for the sake of variety, right? Like if you just get bored of training the same thing over and over, there's a ton of options for trying new things. The same sort of thing exists obviously for a bunch of different skills. So I won't go through them all, but you know, there are, for example, dodging skills where we can put up the difficulty and the focus is on just avoiding as many skill shots as possible. So you'll have champions come in and throw skill shots at you, a variety of different skill shots as well, which is another thing that I made sure to have included, you know, when they were asking me for feedback, is that, again, different skill shots require different responses, right? A line skill shot is a bit different from a circle skill shot. And some of them are like more delayed and stuff like that. This brand should cast a W, right? So as you can see, these different champions are casting different skill shots, which is quite important for teaching you to dodge. So there's those ones there. There's also a bunch of kiting things. So for example, we could just open this kiting one here. If you're an AD carry, for example, and you can just kind of kite, and you get down here in the bottom right an attack result on, you know, how many autos extra could you get in. The more damage you take, obviously the lower score you get at the end. Actually, I think in this one, since it's training, it doesn't actually matter. But anyway, that's kind of the concept. So like I said, there's a bunch of these different things, like both warm-ups and actual like training tools for each one. But there are some tools which you can use that kind of combine all three. So for example, this Shootvival one here, this combines just about everything. So you can see that you'll be able to use auto attacks or skills to eliminate them, but you also want to dodge as many abilities as possible. So what we could do is we could go compete on this one, and this is kind of like one that will just combine basically everything we've worked on. So as you can see, we can click around. We've got both those sums. We've got a line skill shot to use. We can also use our auto attack. So we need to try and dodge as many skill shots as we can. Also keep an eye on everything. But we can also use our autos, right? So this is pretty good, I think, for combining, again, all these skills we've been practicing on. Like, maybe this is the sort of thing that you might want to do. Oh my god, I'm getting roasted. This is the thing you might want to do when you're ready to actually, like, queue up for a League game. Is, you know, you've warmed up on all your skills, you finally give this a go, and then, yeah, we're ready to go. So I think this is pretty cool. I think I might be screwed this game, though. Like, I've already lost so much HP. But yeah, it's really good, right? Like, I mean, I'm really impressed. I don't know about you guys, but I'm actually really impressed. And I guess, like, I'll talk about it a bit again in the FAQ at the end. And I kind of talked about it a bit, but, like, how similar does it feel to an actual League game? Oh my God, these guys are beasts. I'm trash. How similar does it actually feel? It feels really good. Like, honestly, it feels very, very similar to League of Legends itself, which is great, right? That's exactly what you want in order to make this as useful as possible for you. There's also a couple other bonus features I want to show you guys. And the first one is that you have this weekly routine here. And this weekly routine, after you play for a while, will actually become customized or tailored to you. And the way it's going to work is that it's going to look at which skills you're struggling at, which scenarios you're having difficulty in. And within those scenarios, like which things are we actually having problems with? For example, are we having trouble hitting abilities or dodging skill shots or whatever? And it's going to recommend you a routine that you can start. And you can just come down here and start it, and it will take you through them all and hopefully keep you, testing and working on those skills that you're finding difficult. So I think this is, again, super, super important feature. I know when I used to play like aim trainings and stuff, I would have a routine, but the thing is it wasn't, tailored or customized, right? It was just kind of a standard one. So this is really, really good feature. Another one is that they do have some cognitive tests that you can try. So for example, if you've ever wanted to do like your mouse reaction speed, key reaction and stuff like that, I know people use like human benchmark for this sort of stuff too. But again, it could be one of those ones where you benchmark yourself after doing certain things, for example, exercise or sleep or whatever. And you kind of just test, like, does that actually affect you? And more likely it does. And which way does it affect you? I think that's kind of important. So a bunch of cool features there. Finally, I just want to make a quick FAQ section for things that I know are going to come up in the comments section below. So the first one will be, how do I sign up or how do I join? There will be a link both in the description as well as the pinned comment, so go and check that out. The second question you might have is, does it cost money? Yes, there is a monthly fee. I believe it's 10 euros per month. That being said, you can cancel that at any time. There's also a 7-day free trial available to anyone. So if you want to just come and see if it's something that you think might be useful for you, then, you're more than welcome to. Also, I believe the United Gamers team is running a competition, which I think is going to be a week from when this video goes live. Whoever has the highest compete score in Shootvival, I think, is going to get a free year subscription. I'll make sure to post more details about that in the pinned comment. I can't quite remember them, but again, you can come use the free trial and just see what kind of high score you can get, and who knows, maybe you can get a free subscription. Also, a question you guys might have is, can you import your settings? Yes, you can directly import your keybinds over from League. It's very, very simple. If you click this, it'll open a video tutorial on how to do it, but basically you just have to locate a file in the League of Legends folder and just, select it, and it's super simple to copy over. It'll honestly only take you about 10 seconds. If you have any other questions, obviously you can put them in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them, but you might also just want to go straight to their Discord, which again, there'll be a link for, and so you can find more detailed information there or ask any questions or just things in general that I might not have covered in this video. So guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you have any other questions or thoughts or anything, put them in the comment section below. I want to say again, it's been an absolute blast working with these guys, and I really, really hope you guys enjoy the tool. I think it's going to be super, super helpful for you guys, and I really wouldn't promote something that I don't believe in. So make sure to check it out once again. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.